TVC Sport Desk.
World number 5, Daniil Medvedev suffered a 4-set loss to Australia's Alex de Minaur in the French Open fourth round on Monday as his disappointing record at Roland Garros continues, while in the women's singles category, world number 2 Aryna Sabalenka swept aside Ima Navarro in straight sets to reach the quarterfinals of the French Open. It is another Monday right here on TVC Sports Desk where we discuss the very best of sports. I am Samson Olede. Coming up on the show this evening, 15 players hit Super Eagles camp ahead of Crunch World Cup qualifiers against South Africa and Benin Republic. Chelsea announced the appointment of former Leicester City manager Enzo Maresca as the club's new head coach on a 5-year contract. And in the sport of tennis, world number 2 Aryna Sabalenka pummels Ima Navarro to the quarterfinal spot at ongoing French Open.
6-2, 6-3.
TVC Sport Desk.
Thanks for staying tuned. This is TVC Sports Desk. I'm Samson Olede. We'll begin the show with a round-leather game of football right here from the home front, talking about the Super Eagles of Nigeria as the team continues their preparations for the Crunch World Cup qualifiers against South Africa and Benin Republic. Now 15 players are now in camp and had an exhaustive session on Monday morning at the training pitch of the Godswill Akpabio Stadium. The training, which lasted 2 hours, included fitness and shooting drills plus tactical sessions led by head coach Finidi George. 8 more players are expected to join the squad for the evening session. After 2 rounds of games in the World Cup qualifying series, the Super Eagles sit third in Group A with 2 points from 2 draws and they play South Africa on Friday and Benin Republic next week. Now joining us live is the Super Eagles media officer, Promise Efoghe. Promise, good evening. It's good to have you on the show.
Yes, good to have you on the I was about to say good to have you on the program. Meanwhile, I should say good to have me on the show. Perhaps I'm really too used to being on that chair you're sitting right now. But of course, it's a different role for me here. And as media officer of the Super Eagles, it's been very exhausting for me talking to different media platforms. But of course, it's what it is. It's what the job is about. You know, having to interface between the team, the Super Eagles, and the Nigerian media.
Well, you simply preempted my question, and we will definitely start off the bat with this. When you heard of the notification, or when you got the notification, rather, that you have been appointed as the media officer of the Super Eagles, what was your reaction? And while it's early days, what has the experience been like on the job?
My reaction, how did I react? I was excited because, I've covered the Super Eagles for many years now, 22 years on this job. I've covered the Super Eagles for more than 2 decades, and I've always done that, from the outside. And so it's a different feeling when you're covering the team from the inside. I was excited to have the chance to interface directly with the players, have conversations with them, talk to them directly, not having to go through a third party as it used to be before now. So it's a different experience entirely. And so far, it's been so good, quite challenging as well. I've had calls from everybody, calls from almost all the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. It's this period I get to hear about some TV channels I've never heard before, radio stations I've never heard before. And people calling to say, okay, I'm from this channel, I'm from this station, I'm from this newspaper in Kaduna, I'm from this radio station in Bauchi. Media houses I've never heard before. Again, it's getting to put calls across to ask questions about the national team. It's been challenging, but of course, I think I'm getting to love the job.
Okay, well, on easy, they say lies the head that wears the crown. We can only wish you the very best and hope that, your tenure is definitely marked with so many successes for the team in terms of African Nations Cup triumph, among others, including the World Cup qualifiers. And that's what we'll be starting with, talking about the World Cup qualifiers right now. We understand that 15 players are in the Super Eagles camp at this afternoon. The question first will be, are there any new arrivals in camp ever since that update?
Not yet. Not yet. Still 15 players are reported yesterday. Still 15 players are reported this morning. Still 15 players are in camp. No thanks to the NLC nationwide strike that's ongoing, that has stalled domestic flights. These players are in town, some in Lagos, some in Abuja, players who arrived from their bases in Europe. Madiko Koye, Shemi Ajayi, Brighto Sai Samuel, Kevin Bassi, Frank Oyeka, Alex Iwobi, Ademola Lukman, and Paul Onuachu. These guys know the importance of these games, and it was their wish to be in camp early enough to team up with the early birds. But unfortunately, this strike came up today, and they are stranded at different locations. But the Nigeria Football Federation is doing everything possible to ensure that they get in camp as soon as possible. Today's training was a bit hectic for the 15 in camp. If they had a full house, perhaps it would have been a different ball game entirely. The absence of these players is not really too good for the coaches in terms of planning, tactical planning for these games. And so it is important that these guys get in camp as soon as possible, and the Football Federation is doing just that.
Okay, I'm looking at the screen now. We can see the list of players that are in camp as at this moment. And while it is not a new thing for one of the domestic players to be in the camp of the Super Eagles, all eyes are definitely on the player right there, talking about Kenneth Igboke, I beg your pardon. Rather, he's on the number 8 spot of the list of players in camp. And that is the player that replaces Victor Osimhen, talking about the Enugu Rangers left fullback. My question to you is, what has the reception been from him and for him right there in camp, talking about linking up with his international teammates, and how has the atmosphere been generally in camp in terms of that bonding that you would expect within the Super Eagles camp?
Well, he's not the only newbie in camp. We also have the man from Rizespor in Turkey, that's Ibrahim Olawoyin, who is a midfielder who can also play from the flanks. He's also in camp for the very first time. And Kenneth Igboke is not the only home-based player in camp.
Yep.
We have the likes of Ojo Olorunleke. And these guys, they've been a part of the Super Eagles before Kenneth, and they would have played a very huge role in helping him to settle in. Mind you, Coach Finidi, before he became assistant coach of the Super Eagles, was coach of Eyimba. And he played with Eyimba, or rather he coached Eyimba to play against the likes of Rangers, the likes of Remo Stars and the rest. And he's been able to identify some of the best legs from the domestic front. That is why we have these guys in the national team. But if you are in the Super Eagles camp, you barely know who is new or who is not new. The bonding is strong. These players understand the importance of unity. And that's what I've experienced with them. Even when I came into camp, perhaps some would have thought maybe I was a player, or maybe my protein tummy that given me away that no, this cannot be a player. So the feeling is great in camp. Amongst the players, you can barely tell who is home based and who is not. You can barely tell who is new and who is not, because the bonding is strong. What is most important for these guys is that they are all professional players. And the 3 points against the Bafana is what they are looking at. Remember, at the Nations Cup, they said, let's do it again. They were almost doing it again. They were close to doing it again. They got to the finals but lost to Ivory Coast. Right now, they don't want grief for anybody. You look at the World Cup table, the qualifying series, the Super Eagles are number 3. That's not the place the team want to be. 2 points from 2 matches. And they know that these games against South Africa and Benin Republic would serve as an opportunity for them to catch up, and not just only catch up, but overtake on the table. Winning at home is almost a given for them. They really want to win at home. We expect the Gospel Akpabio Stadium to be packed full on Friday evening, and picking 3 points there will serve as the springboard to go into Benin Republic and get a good result against a team that is coached by the former Super Eagles coach, Kenneth Raw.
Okay. Let's look at the players now in camp. Are there any injury concerns that, Nigerians should know, be it minor or major, for the 15 players in camp? We know quite well that 8 more players are expected in camp later today or at the, latest tomorrow. But for the players in camp, any injury concerns?
None at all. None at all. Though this morning's training was very intense, but the coach is looking to forestall any possibility of a player picking up an injury in camp. And so they have declared no training this evening. The coach said it to me earlier today. No training this evening. The players would have to rest, and they will be working with the physio later this evening at about 5 p.m. To just go through a recovery session. The training this morning was very heavy. It was very, very intense. And the players, they felt it. After the training session, you could see them, they were fully exhausted, and the coaches said they wouldn't train this evening so as to avoid any of them picking up a knock in training, because the games are coming up. 2 games back to back. These players have to be fit for them.
Okay. Let's look at the games now. Talking about the World Cup qualifiers, these are matches that Nigeria must win to stand a chance to qualify for the World Cup taking place in the United States of America, Mexico, and Canada. Talking about the FIFA World Cup in 2026, we are 2 points. We have 2 points, from 2 games, having drawn both games, and that piles, so much pressure on the players and the technical crew to get the job going against the Bafana team that we struggled, to beat in the Nations Cup. It is definitely an Herculean task. So the question is this: what is it like in terms of the mental fortitude of the players? We're looking at the place of pressure in football. We know that is a big deal, and it does exist in the game itself. Are the players really ready to go? From what you can see, do you think the players are feeling the pressure just as Nigerians are really hoping that they can deliver come Friday against South Africa?
Well, if you do it once, you can do it again. They defeated South Africa at the Nations Cup, though it was via penalties. But you go back, take a look at that game. The Super Eagles could have easily won that game, in open play. But the approach to the game necessitated the match going into extra time and then the penalty shootout. And so if they did it then, they can always do it again. The players are no under any pressure. The World Cup qualification series is very long. We've got 5 teams in that group, and so that means each country will play as much as 8 matches. It's still a very long way to go. But early to bed, early to rise. These players understand the fact that if they get to win these 2 games back to back, and they will stand a very good chance. There should be no reason why at the end of the qualification series we bring out our calculators and start calculating who wins here, who wins there, what's the goal difference and all of that. These players, they do not want to find themselves in that situation, and that is why they are taking these games very seriously. No pressure. No pressure, no pressure. We had launched a couple of hours ago, and you could see the atmosphere. It's buzzing. Though it's just 15 players in camp yet, the atmosphere is buzzing. And I'm beginning to wonder what it will look like when we have the other 8 coming to make 23.
Okay, I will definitely wait for the arrivals and hope that they can also add to the team in terms of bolstering the squad so that we have a fully healthy team that will prosecute the Crunch World Cup qualifiers we have against South Africa and Benin Republic, and we can only wish the team the very best. Promise Efoghe, the Super Eagles media officer, thank you so much for your time on the show this evening.
Thank you, Samson.
Thank you so much. Still on the home front, let's turn our attention now to domestic football, and this has to do with the Nigerian Professional Football League as it hits home stretch. Talking about the 2023-2024 season, we had rounds of matches yesterday, round 34 you want to call them, and you had Enyimba thrashing Rivers United by 4-1. Bayelsa United edged Plateau United via 3-2. That was a 5-goal thriller there. Shooting Stars upsuiting, you want to call them, right there, defeating Abia Warriors as well by 4-0. And tabletoppers Enugu Rangers were able to get a draw at Sporting Lagos right here in Lagos. That ended goalless. It was a stalemate, and that point is definitely valuable for Rangers who had gone